Good afternoon, friends. It's Father Dennis Dorner. It is Thursday, February 18th. It's about 3 o'clock, and we are joining today because we're going to start talking about a new way of processing some things, and I want to talk to you guys about journaling. Hope you're just having a good afternoon so far. Got about 5 of us gathered so far. Hope everybody's doing well. Gonna give people just a few more minutes to gather with us. If you were here with us, though, say hello. Pretty sure I've got this on public. I do. No one's just talking yet. That's okay, though. Elizabeth is freezing. Hello, Elizabeth. Hello, Maria. So it looks like we're going to have probably lower numbers than normal. Catching up on scrapbooking almost to 2019. Great afternoon. Hello, Kay. I hope you're well. We're just going to give people about 1 more minute. Not even. Hey, Alan. Happy Lent to you. So, I wanted to do a video with everybody and kind of talk about something that for me has been such an integral part of my own faith formation, my own human formation, and just generally, it's just part of kind of how I have gone through life. Let's see. Hey, Lee, I'm so glad you got your second COVID vaccine. Congratulations. Hey, Mark. Excellent. I'm so glad you're enjoying that. And Gloria, good afternoon. So I started talking about this morning, and I've kept a journal since I was about in 3rd grade. I remember my grandmother, my mom's mom, she gave me it was actually a very girly journal that I got. It was like pink and it had flowers all over it. And I was like, what is this for? And she's like, it's a diary. It's a journal. It's, and I was like, all right. And so I just started writing in it. It was a Christmas gift, I remember. And I have the dates in that original journal go back to 1988 and then 1989 is where I finished that first volume. And when you're a kid, you're just kind of spitting thoughts out. But as I've grown as an adult, I've really learned to be able to kind of bring my journaling in as part of my prayer. And that really came to fruition when I was in seminary and I was sitting in Dr. Kate Wiskus's class, Pastoral Care and Counseling. And she shared with us her story of how she journals every day. And so I thought I would share that story with you guys, and hopefully it would give some ideas. And now we can kind of talk about all these different things and kind of how they benefit us. I also want to talk about just in general how beneficial journaling is. When you journal, it's a cross section of spirituality or faith, one could describe it as. It is psychological, and it's also philosophical because you're figuring out how do you think and how do you view the world around you, and all of these things come together from very different parts of your brain. All the different parts of your brain process different types of thought very differently, and the gift of journaling is it causes and allows multiple parts of your mind to work simultaneously. While you're processing and learning to think of what is it that I'm feeling and self-identifying, so too are you tapping into those language receptors in your brain and kind of pairing together what am I feeling and what's the word for that. so that we're learning to be able to express what's going on interiorly. And not only will that benefit you on a psychological level, but it's also going to help you on a spiritual level, be able to kind of express my feeling consolation, desolation. And we dive into the spiritual life even deeper through this beautiful spiritual practice. I had always thought of my journaling as just kind of something that I do at the end of my day. It was how I was processing the ends of my days and had been for, gosh, at that point, almost 30 years. I think I was probably 30, 31 when I took her class. And so for a long time, I had been doing it one way, and then I shifted it a little bit. And she shared with us in one of our early formation sessions, she said, I get up every morning and I sit on my back porch. And underneath my back porch, there's a skunk. And there's the fog that surrounds my back porch and the sun that will eventually rise. And each and every morning, me and my maker spend time with all these elements in my journal, and a warm, hot cup of coffee and probably a blanket. And she would sit there every day and she would write in her journal. And I thought to myself, my gosh, that appeals to me on a variety of levels. I love being able to just kind of sit and wake up in the morning. And I always have a myriad of thoughts, and it's evolved since then, but that idea of getting up in the morning and kind of dumping my brain first and foremost ended up being something that I have found to be pretty beautiful, and something really helpful. I don't think that camera is facing the right direction. So what I will do to share with you guys, I guess I'll just kind of hold it up. So you can use any kind of journal. I have been journaling for such a long time that people that know me and love me have given me journals to kind of sub in from time to time. This one is a little bit bigger than I would normally want it. But since I'm not traveling anywhere right now, since I'm not really going anywhere, a big one doesn't bother me. And so having a large journal that has the kind of paper you feel comfortable writing on too. You know, it's not about how it looks as much as it is how comfortable is it engaging with you. Some people use like a Rhodia notebook, or a Moleskine is another one. They don't have to be fancy. You could just use a little spiral notebook. Field Notes also makes little notebooks that fit in your back pocket. Something you have and that you can go to regularly. Because what I want to do is start to ritualize or create some type of a routine to this approach to going to God with my words, with my heart, with my mind. And so I want to have a pen or a pencil that I know that I like to write with. What are you most comfortable writing in? This isn't to write, you're not Hemingway. What you're doing is, I thought about this when I was studying the book of Daniel, and we talk about the book of life, in which God writes all those things of us within, as it's described in Daniel. And I thought, well, you know what? I almost think of it in almost like this kind of a fantasy way, but when I put those words onto the paper, when I choose to put those words onto the paper, that's the kind of my final answer that I want to kind of share with God in those moments. And so I take that time and I approach it. And so here's what I do, and I'm just going to share with you kind of, this is my 2021 Lent book. I had started writing something in this journal, and I was like, I don't really want to use it for that. But I actually think it's a pretty perfect thing to have for Lent. And so I folded over that first page and I just drew a graphic on it, Lent 2021, a little Eucharist on there with a cross. And then I just start writing, and talking about what the spirit is of that day. And I started writing on Ash Wednesday so that I could kind of get into that place. And then I thought, and then here's the second day. So I'll spend some time kind of just with the page, just scribbling and doodling on it as I'm kind of thinking about what it is that I want to do. And what is that prayer for self? And it's let's see if I can even see it on there. To be love, to be healing, to be grace. And then on the bottom part of that page, I write 3 things that I'm particularly thankful for, just things that are in my mind that I'm holding thanks for. And for this, I wrote the flavor blueberry vanilla custard, which is one of my favorite flavors. There's a thing that I have that I really like that. I have great gratitude for community. Those moments that we were able to get together. It's something I long for, but it's something that I'm very thankful for. And so that was very heavy on my heart. And then the third thing that I wrote that I was thankful for this morning was happy wet noses. I got woken up early by my dog who was just coming over to just say good morning to me. And I woke up to a cold, wet nose, and it made me smile first thing. And that was something that I hold with gratitude in my heart, because I'm thankful for that wet nose, because it gets me out of bed most days and makes me smile all days, even if he's driving me crazy. And so I'm going to share with you kind of where my prayer took me early this morning. I'm actually going to read from my journal and kind of share with you where it is. Today's the second day of Lent. Largely in contrast, or largely I'm content in my kind of melancholy right now. It's a cool, if not cold, February day in Georgia. I'm not snippy, but my patience isn't really deep today. I'm aware of how quickly my emotions are tied to any relational encounter today. When I think about, getting a hug or what it means to just kind of pet your dog, and those encounters I was hyper aware of. And it made me really kind of think and those encounters that we have with people and how meaningful they are. A held hand. It's a powerful thing, and it's something that, just doesn't necessarily happen. And then I started thinking about all those other encounters that haven't been happening, but I think things that are very special. And I started kind of thinking about those close encounters that are particularly meaningful in our lives. And as I had been talking about prayer, and I was talking about the voice of God a couple days ago, the idea of a whisper popped into my mind. And I wrote, a voice I've not heard a great amount over the course of the last year, the whisper. I miss whispers. They're the voice of special moments, tender encounters, sometimes sharing at the wrong time, and it's the constant communication that takes place during Mass when you need to share something with someone. And then I think of the gravity held in a whisper, the intimacy, because a whisper is only meant for one person to hear. God whispers in a hurricane, the chaos surrounding a clear and distinct message of love, the eye of a storm where peace resides. Those lovely moments of love shared, counsel afforded, affirmation given, or comfort provided. The whisper is a powerful tool. And as I sat there with that, I just kind of reveled in that for a few moments, and I wrote a little prayer, and I wrote, Heavenly God, on this day and all, may you guide me to the peace that allows me to always hear your gentle whisper. Guide me in your love. Amen. And with that journal entry, it's kind of a recognition of what I'm hoping for just to begin my day, to start my day. Is that all that my day is going to entail? No, I actually don't want to have a great plan for the day, but yet an awareness of the day. And journaling is one of those things that allows you to do that, that allows you to kind of dive into that hopeful, operative theology. How am I going to walk along with God today? And so I can't recommend it more than to start kind of practicing having a journal. And I'm going to talk about it more in terms of kind of how I go about that. But that ability to kind of start off with gratitude and to recognize, how do you feel? I recognized that I was feeling a little bit impatient as I awoke this morning. And so I knew that I needed to pray for a sense of peace and just kind of let that peace of Christ wash over me this morning. And that's kind of the prevailing thought until I'm able to stop a little bit later today and do more prayer that allows me to kind of refocus and recenter, where am I? The gift of journaling is something that we give to ourselves, and it also is that ability to kind of stop and reflect and look back at where you were. This February has been kind of hard emotionally for me on a variety of levels, but I went back to some old journals and I recognized I pulled up one from my first year of theology, my second year of theology, my third year of theology when I was in the Holy Land. And in every single one of those, I have somewhere written on at least one or many days in February, nobody wants to be a priest in February. It's cold. It's there's no sunlight. It's a time where emotions struggle. And you know what? While I recognized that I was complaining then, it gave me solace because there's a rhythm to the years, and I recognize that you've been here before, man. You pray a little bit more, get out of it the way that you got out of it before. You've been able to get out of it before. But it was that solace and peace that I was able to afford to myself through the words that I'd shared with God. And I only had those because I had my journal. And so just kind of something worth thinking about, friends, to start doing this beautiful practice of journaling. Hello, Jennifer. And to allow ourselves to start cultivating a language with God, and to do so in the way that benefits us. Now, let me talk about some of the ways that journaling actually does like psychologically benefit us, and maybe you'll start to recognize how helpful this can be. So journaling, it also stretches your IQ. It's a hot topic, but strong cases support the ability to change your IQ. It's about allowing ourselves to tap into multiple parts of your brain. The better you're able to think, the better you're able to recognize patterns. That's where IQ is usually quantified by, but it's really kind of ramping up that ability to think. And it's an important thing to be able to do. To evoke mindfulness, that ability to stop and recognize, where am I right now? It also kind of makes us mindful of the goals. As we kind of see what our longing is for after you have kind of a number of days accrued in your writing, themes start to occur. And you start to recognize in those themes, what is it that I'm looking for, what I'm hoping for? And we're going to talk about all these things with greater detail as this series kind of continues. I'm going to be doing this journaling series where I'm going to share things that I'm thinking about, but also kind of ways that we can dive into our own expression and sharing. Emotional intelligence is something that I think is super important and something that a lot of people don't talk about. EQ, or emotional intelligence, is just as important as IQ, if not more so. In fact, I know a lot of people with unbelievably high IQs that socially they lack, you know? And so it's an ability to be aware of self, but it also helps us empathize with others if we learn to recognize and reflect the right way. There's a boost in memory and comprehension, that ability to stop and reflect upon your day. It helps you retrieve and walk back through day by day, which is a healthy activity because we're not as apathetic then. And then also you're aware when those moments where you might be a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Dissociated or in a fog. At best it's a fog. At worst it's full on dissociation. And so just kind of being aware of that. Strengthening self-discipline. 10,000 hours teaches you to be a master at something, whether that be prayer or writing or anything. But getting yourself to sit there to practice is something that's really, it takes some self-will. You'll grow as a human through this. You learn to improve communication skills. When we start talking about something that we don't understand, we lack the words. This is true for both prayer as well as psychology and self-awareness. And so the more we're able to sit there looking for those words, you grow as a human being, and you grow in your ability to communicate what the human experience is. This also makes you more empathetic, or can make you, at the very least, sympathetic to what other people are experiencing when they share their words. And you realize their words are a lot like my words. It is allowing for healing. Tapping into those three parts of your brain allows you to process the events in which you've been a part of. Not only just simply recounting them is helpful, but also associating the feelings associated with those encounters. It helps us to heal. It also provides and sparks a sense of creativity. I mean, as I was writing that thing on Whispers this morning, which was not in my intent, I was able to go back and write a really lengthy reflection after that. I didn't write it. I went and grabbed the tape recorder and just started spewing thoughts. But it spawns thought. Let it spawn thought. It makes you more interesting. It also teaches you things that you can kind of process. And it also gives you a sense of self-confidence by knowing what you're dealing with. Putting a name on something is really important. Something I teach people to do when they're struggling with anxiety is doing something like a brain dump, where you just start writing out everything that's in your head. It's not really a prayerful activity as much as it is flushing the toilet. But it's that ability to just kind of get all the thoughts that are in my head out of my head. But when you really reflectively start journaling, you start to recognize that the person that's there is very strong, that they've survived a lot of things. If you are here to tell the story today, you are a survivor. And thanks be to God for that. And so it's worth kind of learning to be able to respect the fact that you have survived, but also to give dignity to self and to others through that sharing of words within heart and mind. And learning to cultivate that language of self-love as well. Seeing your own victories, where you've had successes, and recognizing where you've overcome challenges that once upon a time stopped you. These are all really important within growing one's self and one's ability. And so all these things are really, really helpful. And I want to encourage you, however you can, to cultivate this journaling life, this practice of introspection. And Lent is a great time to be able to do that. And so thought I'd share that with you. Yeah, you're very welcome, Gloria. I'm so glad. And yeah, February can definitely suck. I mean, if you're in the southern hemisphere, it's not so bad because you get a little summertime right now. But right for us, it's a bit more challenging. And so, my friends, I hope that this video is very, very helpful. If you found it to be helpful, make sure that you hit that like button. Maybe even show a little bit of love. And if you think that others that you know could benefit from this, make sure that you share this video. Friends, I'm glad that we are having these opportunities to gather together to grow in our ability to love one another and to bring about the kingdom of God here and now by healing our hearts and guiding others to do the same. Peace be with all of you guys. Be good to each other. Take care.